Today we're checking out 5 tips for buying an investment property in Southern California. What's up, everybody? Cheyne Inman here, local real estate agent in Southern California, helping families move here from all over the world. And if that is you, if you're looking to move into the South Bay or anywhere in Southern California, I'd love to help you get started in your search. So feel free to call, text, or email me. It's never too early to get started in your search. And if we can get on a call or an email, I can help you figure out exactly what you're looking for and if it exists here in the South Bay or Southern California. All right, so today's video is a little different than what we've gone over in the past. So this week we're checking out what it's like to purchase a investment property in the South Bay or Southern California in general, and just some of the things that I think can help people with purchasing a home here or an investment property here. So I've had clients that have bought townhomes and condos and duplexes and single family residences and apartment complexes and all types of investment properties in the South Bay. And so I thought we'd go over some of the tips that have helped them with how they purchased what they wanted and help them kind of figure out what they wanted, because sometimes you think you know and then you start to look at the area and find out that doesn't exactly exist in this area, or maybe something else does that could fit into what your goals are. All right, so tip number 1 is figure out what your goal is with this property. Is it cash flow? Is it appreciation? So, cash flow right now is difficult because interest rates are high. So if you're purchasing a home using a loan, then you're going to need to be putting more money down in order to make it cash flow. And so what that means is basically, are you going to be making a return on the income coming in from the property versus what your monthly mortgage price is or payment is, and the interest and insurances and utilities, or all the other vacancies, all the other things that come with owning a property. So you're going to want to know, okay, is that my goal, cash flow? Okay, well then what's that going to take? Or maybe your goal is, hey, I need to a way of lowering my taxes, and maybe that's an option. Talk to a tax advisor and see if that's going to help your situation. Or maybe you just want to create long-term wealth, which in that case, the properties here typically appreciate over time. So if you're going to hold the property for 5, 10, 20, 50 years, then eventually you're going to probably get some cash flow out of it, and it's also going to appreciate. So you just have to know what that goal is and if that goal is doable here. And so I often have clients that will start with a goal of, hey, I want a cash flow of this amount, and then they start looking at what they need to put down for the loan to make it work, and they're like, okay, that's not going to work. Or they're like, well, I can make it work for this amount of time, and if the property appreciates amount in that time, or if the property maybe doesn't cash flow right away, but as you can raise rents over time, maybe that's an option. Obviously, you got to pay attention to what the local rent control rules are. Can you raise it by a certain amount of percentage? So, knowing what your goal is with that property is a big part of finding that property that's going to work well for you. All right, and tip number 2 is to find your budget. So obviously, first, if you're going to go with a loan, you want to speak with a lender and figure out what that monthly payment and taxes and insurances and vacancies and all those things are going to equate to in a monthly payment, and is that going to work for you? So if you don't have a lender that you're working with, I have quite a few lenders that I work with. I can introduce you to one and just kind of get things going and see if it could be a good option for what you're looking for. A lot of times with investment properties, they're going to be wanting a little bit more of a down payment, 20% down, maybe 15% down. But you also have options for owner-occupied units where maybe you get like a duplex, and maybe you do a first-time home buyer loan, an FHA loan for 3.5% down or 5% down conventional, and then you're not putting as much out of pocket, and you're living in one unit and renting out the other. The tough thing I've seen for clients with purchasing a duplex right now is that just finding a vacant unit. So I had a client who purchased a duplex, and at the time they were, both units were occupied, and when we went to check it out, found out that one of the tenants was actually planning on moving out already. So it ended up working out that way, and it worked out well for her, but it often doesn't work out that well. So you want to know ahead of time, is the property going to have a unit vacant at close of escrow, if that is your goal to live in one and rent out the other. There are definitely options for that. It's just kind of a needle in the haystack and finding the one that fits with your budget and the location and everything you're looking for in a duplex. All right, and tip number 3 is find the location that works for you. I had a client who started their search looking for multifamilies in one area, and they realized that they could raise their budget a little bit more and purchase a single family residence, and it was actually going to get more return on the investment and both cash flow and as appreciation, because they were buying in an area a little bit closer to the water. And so being closer to the beach, obviously the prices go up, but also the prices in rent go up. And so, in the South Bay, we've got Boeing and Northrop and SpaceX and all of these businesses where people are moving here for job opportunities. And oftentimes when people will reach out to me about moving here, they just want to rent for a year or two and know if they like the area or not. And a lot of times their company will give them a housing allowance, and so maybe they can afford $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 a month to rent, and they're looking to just rent for a year or two. So the rental options are very high here. So if getting multiple doors and getting a multifamily property that brings in a lot of lower income rent may not be as good of a cash flow as something that maybe is a single family residence in a area closer to the beach, and it's well sought after and people are wanting to pay a little more to live in that area, and they have the means to do so. So just really understanding what location is going to be the best location for you is going to really pay a difference in your search. And obviously you're not going to know that until you kind of look through some properties and see, okay, what is this going to get me? What kind of return? What are the rental prices in this area? And just kind of figuring out what location is going to fit best for you. All right, and tip number 4 is understanding the restrictions of the rental property. And this really comes more into a chance with a condo, renting out a condo. It is possible to rent out condos here. It's just you want to make sure that the HOA allows that. And so some HOAs may say absolutely no rentals at all. They may say that there's a limit on how many rentals per owner occupied units. So maybe it's a 50-50 tenant to owner users in the complex. And so you just want to know where they're at with that. And a lot of times you won't know that until you actually open escrow and can look at the CCNRs. Occasionally, the seller may have that info ahead of time if they've rented the complex in the past, or the property in the past. But yeah, you want to know that. I also have people reach out asking about Airbnb, and most of the cities in this area have a 30-day restriction on rentals. So you got to rent for at least 30 days. So if you're thinking you wanted to find something as a beach rental and just rent it out for the weekend and stay for the weekend, that's something that's probably not going to work out well. But if you're somebody that's like, hey, maybe I can market to traveling nurses and it's they're going to stay for 2 months or 3 months or a month, maybe that's something that could work. So just do your research and understand the restrictions on the properties and the style of properties that you're looking at. All right, and the 5th and final tip is run your numbers. Do your research and figure out, what is important to you in buying that property. Is it tax? Is it going to help in your taxes? Is it going to be a long-term appreciation, or is it you really need cash flow right away? And with the way the market is right now, like I mentioned, it's difficult to find that so-called deal. But the more properties you look at, the better your options are, and the more likely you are to find something. Constantly looking at properties daily and running the numbers and looking at different rents and seeing what's out there and what could work. So if you're interested in trying to find something, feel free to call, text, or email me, and I can send you just a list of properties that might fit your needs, and we can kind of evaluate what your options might be. The other thing to think about is just because the property is listed for a certain amount and that number doesn't make sense based on what you're looking at, that may not be the number that they accept at. If the property's been listed on the market for 30 days, 45 days, a year, maybe they need to sell, and maybe they're open to a lower price, and it's just making that offer and seeing if they go for it. So if you are thinking of trying to find something, feel free to call, text, or email me, and we can get started on finding that property that you like.